So you've gotten your walls actually all the way laid out down here, right? So we're just going to double check them. And it looks like your walls start down here. How do you know that we're supposed to be starting down here? Yeah. Now the only thing that I noticed is at the very outside of the wall down here, you don't have an X. Should we have an X there, you think? At the very end of the wall?
No.
Well, why didn't you put one there? We actually should have one, but why didn't you put one there? Because there wasn't 3/4 of an inch? Is that why you didn't put one there? Because 3/4 ended out here? So, just like in real life, usually the wall never works out to be where it's right on the money, you know, for 16-inch increments. So at the very end, we're definitely going to need a stud though, right? Because that's going to be there obviously to hold the sheeting at the end of our wall and help tie in our wall on the other end. So looking over here, Kevin, it looks like you have is this a garage door, this real big one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to need to cut something that goes on top of that rough opening for the garage door. Do you remember what that was called?
Header.
It was a header. And since it was a garage door, is it going to have to be a real big, beefy header?
Yeah.
Okay. Because of the span, right? It's pretty long. So what we're going to do for this one here, we're going to use, we'll call it a 2x12. It looks like we have some 3/4 inch pieces. So let me, all right, yeah, go ahead and grab one of those. Here, let me give you my knife, buddy. All right, see if one will sneak out. All right. And Kevin, if we measure our rough opening, how big was your rough opening? How big was your garage door?
Garage door was 10 feet, so it should be like 5
Okay,
inches.
so it should be 5 inches. So I'm going to put this on the number 15. That means that we should be the number 20. All right, so yours is 5 inches. Do you think that we should cut the header then at 5 inches?
No.
Why not? You're right.
To go over the jacks.
Does need to go over the jacks because the jacks, what do the jacks help do?
It holds up the weight of the header.
Yeah, right. My hand right here is a jack. That header sits on top, so it prevents the jack from falling down. So how many jacks do you have per side?
2 per side, so you need an extra 1/8 inch for every jack.
Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 1/8 pieces. So we have 4 eighths. So we need to add how much?
Half inch.
Okay. And how big was your rough opening?
5 inches.
Okay. So it was 5 inches plus a half of an inch. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do this. We're going to put this on the number 15. And we're going to go 5 inches this way, plus another half. That's 5.5 inches. And then this is probably just a little bit too big for our cutters to try to cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this square right here. And we're going to draw a nice square line. And then when you cut this, you're going to use a little set of cutters. And we don't want to cut right over top of our board. But it would be okay if we cut off to the side. So we would carefully move this, and when you cut this here, you put it just like this. You can go nice and carefully. Now, if you wanted to, you could also cut right off to the outside edge. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time to cut through this, but we want to make sure that it's nice and square. Take our time. Ooh, we're getting close. All right. And it looks like we have a nice square header, which we like. This is perfect. Now, Kevin, when we build this garage in real life, our man doors and our windows, we're going to want them all, like at the top, we're going to want them all at the same height. And that height is usually 6'8". It's actually, the rough opening would wind up being 6'10.5" tall. We're going to call it 6'8" for this project here. On a garage door, should we also keep that at 6'8"? Could we? We could. But is that going to limit what we could put in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably could not fit a a lifted pickup truck in there. We probably could not fit, maybe if we had a tractor or something like that with a roll bar on it, probably couldn't fit in there. So what would it maybe be a good idea to do for a garage door?
Raise the door up a little bit.
So keep our rough opening as tall as possible.
Yeah.
Right now, it might cost us a few extra dollars to buy a slightly larger garage door, but it's probably something that later on in life we would really appreciate. So, Kevin, what I normally like to do in this right here is, we're definitely going to wind up putting this header right here, in here, all right? But before we do this, what we're actually going to do is, we're going to make a couple of jack stud combos. And what I mean by that is, we're going to make a stud with 2 jacks glued up to it. And we're going to go over how to do that right now. So while you're grabbing a stud with 2 jacks, Kevin, what I'm also going to do right here on your header is I want to measure in 2 jack widths on each side. So that was 2/8 or 1/4. I'm just going to put, whoa. I'm going to do the same thing down here, just so that we know that's where we want. And the reason why I really did this is so when we put this in, that'll match up to our rough opening, okay? So Kevin, all right, Kevin, so we've got our header put over here, and on a big garage door header, how many jacks do we need underneath this one?
4.
We do need 4. We need 2 per side, right?
Yeah.
And what's a little bit different about these jacks compared to the rest of our windows and doors?
The garage door is taller.
The rough opening is taller, so the jacks are going to be
Longer.
They are going to be longer. They're going to be a different length. So what we're going to do, since how many garage doors do you have? Just one?
This one.
So we only need a total of 4 oddball jacks. What we're going to do is we're just going to take, are these regular studs over here?
Yes.
We're just going to take a regular stud, and you know that these are the correct wall height, and we're going to put it right up here flush with my top, and we're going to mark that right there. Do you see that? And what do you think we're going to do with that line?
Trace onto the other 3.
Well, I don't really like to do that, but what's the line there for? Why did I mark it?
It marks off the height of the jack.
It does, and we are going to
Cut it.
we're going to cut it there. So why don't you go ahead and cut that? Since you and I are your partners on this project, I'll mark out your next one. And it's tricky with a model like this to get everything like super tight and good, because a pencil width is like 1.5 inches in real life, so it's kind of tricky. All right, so it looks like you have a jack over here. Is this another jack, my man? All right, we're gonna compare these, make sure that they are both the same length, which they should be. Looking mighty fine, all right. And these are our regular studs over here. So what we're gonna need to do for this project right here is we're gonna have to make a jack stud combo. Really, in particular for this, we're gonna need to make a double jack stud combo. So 2 jacks and 1 stud. And we'll make these so that we can just pre-put it in our wall, just like so. So it'll look like that when we have it in. All right, so we're gonna take a look-see gander here. I see that. It's looking pretty good. Can I have that piece of sandpaper? I'm actually gonna just hold these together, get a little bit of a blemish on this one. Perfectionist, you know, really gets to you. All right, so Kevin, we're ready to make a jack stud combo here. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take this king stud and this jack, and we're gonna put a little bit of glue on here so we can put this in. Now what we don't wanna do, we don't wanna put a big old glob of glue on here, because it's gonna take a lot longer for it to dry, and we're also gonna burn ourselves. Do you think that this glue gun's pretty hot?
Yeah.
Sure is. So the way that the glue gun actually works is this tip out here is what's hot, and we just push the glue through it, and it melts it when it comes out of the tip. So We don't want to touch the tip to each other. We don't want to touch the tip to our hand. We don't want to squirt glue all over each other. All right, we just want to be very careful here, and we're going to put a little bit on here. And if we work fast enough, we're going to take our jack here, we're going to put it tight with our bottom, and we're going to get it good on the line. We do have a little bit of time to fit it exactly where it wants to be. And I'm right about at my time limit. It's already hardened up. See how I just take my finger and I roll off that little bit of glue that's on there? All right, that's pretty darn close. It's off by just a smidgen down here, and I mean a smidgen. Just gonna give it a light little touch. Is there another jack around here? Is it this one? Okay. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this jack right on here, like so. And one thing I noticed, Kevin, is we have a little bit of glue right here where the jack met this, so I just took my finger and I got that out of there because that's gonna make a little bit of a mess for us later on. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of glue. Since I'm right-handed, I'm gonna hold it with my left. No, we don't want a lot. Just a little bit. Flush on our sides. Tight on our bottom. All right, it's looking mighty fine. All right, so I made one of these. How many more of these are we gonna need?
One.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the video real quick. We're gonna have you make another one, and then we're gonna cut back in. So go ahead and make one real quick. All right, so Kevin, you've got your jack stud combos made, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice to see what this is gonna look like when we put it together. So this is gonna go like this, and this one here is going to go over here like this. Now, we don't really know where these studs go. We know that they go 2 places away from our rough opening. So what we're actually going to do to start with, all right, is we're going to wind up going ahead and putting this header here on our project first. Now, if we take a look, what did I mark out on the top of your header?
Where the jacks start.
Okay, and where did those jacks start? What was that in reality?
That was they started originally with stud points.
Well, in between these 2 marks, I guess is what I should say, is our actual rough opening of 10 foot. So that's what we marked out. And the reason why we did that is so we can put this in, and we happen to make our jack stud combos, and we'll be able to put these in. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to take this header, and what I like to do is I turn it up, and we're just gonna put a little bit of glue on. Sometimes keeping the glue run flat here works out pretty well. It's tricky as a son of a gun. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it right in here. We're gonna press it nice and tight. And watch this, Kevin. You see how I just pushed that a little bit?
Yeah.
Why do you think I pushed my project a little bit after it was?
Stick the glue from your
Yes,
project.
yes. So the glue was starting to set, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't get stuck to my project, so I gave it a light little push. Now, if I wanted to, look, I just take my finger, and that glue, it does come off pretty easy, especially if you get it within, the first couple minutes or whatever. Now, Kevin, on this here, I happen to have an old stick or something like that. So we're just gonna clean up your top a smidgen. I think that looks mighty fine. Your bottom's probably looking good because it was sitting flat. So now that we've got our header placed on our top, what do you think we're gonna put in next?
Jack studs.
Okay, and where should we put the glue for our jack studs when we put them in? Okay. So you need it in 3 different spots. Where was that spot at? Show me.
1, 2, 3.
That's correct. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna let you hold that, and I'm gonna give you this. And remember, we don't really want to use a lot, just nice and lightly. You got some time, we could always heat the glue up as well if we need to. All right, go ahead and put that in. Perfect. Yep, just hold it just like that. That's mighty fine. And we'll just hold it there for maybe 10 seconds or so, and then at the very end we'll do that little that little thing. But I would keep holding it. It's not going to stick to the table anymore. It's pretty good. Now, in real life, we would have this these jacks be just a little bit tighter. But since we're doing stuff in scale, like the thickness of our pencil is like 1.5 inches in real life. So we just can't get it 100% perfect. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. We're not going to sweat it on something like this, but we know in real life we would want these jacks to be tight, correct?
Yeah.
So we're going to put another one in here next, right? All right, it's looking pretty good. There you go. Looks nice. Perfect. Let that dry just like that. All right. And we wanted to definitely build this rough opening here first before we started putting these studs in over here. So the next thing that we're actually going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're now going to glue this to our bottom right here. So we would do this one here first, and look, then we could do this one over here. Now, if you want to try doing both together, you can, but it sometimes gets a little tricky. My recommendation is let's just do one at a time. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of glue right down here on this one. Perfect. Put that together. There we go. And remember, it's important that we put the jack. Don't worry about anything else other than the jack, because we want our rough opening to be the correct size. If our rough opening isn't the correct size, and you know, we're going to run into a little bit of a pickle later here. That looks mighty fine. All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to put a little bit down here. I'm actually going to put a little bit on this edge. Now, you guys happen to be in a class that's a little bit small. The other class that comes in during this period's got partners. But obviously, since there's only 2 of you, we're going to let you guys do your own, so I'll be your partner for this. And I'm going to let that sit there and kind of dry. Yep. Looks pretty good. All right, so what do you think the next thing you're actually going to put in is going to be?
The doors.
Okay. What we're actually going to do for this here is we're actually going to put in 1, 2, these 3 outside studs. And then it looks like down here, you have another 2 studs and then another rough opening. So we might go ahead and we might put a few of these rough openings in, but we're actually going to come down here. We're going to put these 3 studs in for sure down here. And my recommendation is just do one at a time. Do a little drop of glue, and we're going to go like this, and like this, and then like this. Why do you think we're going to work our way from here out rather than here in? Do we have a little bit of wiggle room on these if we need to?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead and do that. Look at that. And see that line? What does that line actually signify?
The side of the stud.
The edge of the stud, yes, the side. And the X signifies where it goes in relationship to that line. We don't ever mark out the center of the stud. All right, we mark out the edge because we can line it perfectly up when we're going down that wall and we're nailing them in. And we got a little bit of time to get it in. So see that one there? There we go. Perfect. And look, does that wall have a little bit of spring tension too to help you hold it together?
Yes.
Perfect. You can go ahead and, as long as she's a little bit, there you go. Perfect. Let's go ahead and do the next one. In real life, when we're doing the wall, we actually go like this. We bang in all the bottoms. Then we come up, we bang in all the tops, and we set our headers in. We're building this one slightly different just because of how small everything is. All right, that's looking mighty fine. All right, looks pretty good. we'll get this last stud in here, and believe it or not, the period's almost over already. Time flies. Same thing like when you're on the job site in real life, sometimes the day flies right by when you're building things. Excuse me. All right, so got the wall started. We're really moving and grooving. It looks like next time we're in class, we're probably going to wind up putting a few other things in, but at least this gets us started on this video here, and it looks really nice. That's a good job, buddy.